Now, Eddie, you started riding at like 8 years old.
That was a few years ago, huh?
Yeah. That was on a Triumph Cup?
Yeah, it was on a Triumph Cup. My dad was actually a Triumph dealership in Lancaster, California, and that kind of got me started off in my career. And then I went from my father's to back and forth and rode for a guy out of Bakersfield named Mel Dennison and won that Big Bear race. Was kind of started my career, and did a little touch and go with Matchless, and then Triumph, picked me up and actually at the age of 16 and kept me, kind of a straight and narrow form from actually like 1961 or 62 to 74 when I finally retired from professional racing, and then we started doing the vintage stuff, which actually we're involved in now. We do a dirt track vintage series, and I build all the vintage bikes that come here basically.
So you started winning at about age 15. Didn't you pull out in front of about 500 people?
Yeah, I lucked out at the age of 15. We went to the Big Bear race and somehow put that in the in the record books. Actually, it was the last Big Bear race that was actually considered a contest. They had one after that, and it got a false start, and that was considered no contest. So I won the last Big Bear race, and the Bud Ekins was we call him Uncle Bud. My dad worked for him after he closed his shop, and Bud kind of pointed me in a lot of direction and gave me the deal with Triumph. And after I was 15, when I actually caught Bud and passed him in a race out in California, and I walked in to get some pieces, and he looked at me and said, "I'm not giving you anything more, young man," and called Triumph and hooked me up with Triumph. And then he gave me my first day in the stunt industry, and so on and so forth. And we just went down the road with it.
So I was talking to a couple of your buddies, and they said that they refer to you as a squirrel. What does that mean?
That was my nickname. When I was a young kid, I was just high energy, I guess you say, and people would be alongside the road, and I'd throw dirt on them, and I was a squirrel. I loved the motorcycle thing. And God bless that I got hooked up in the motorcycle industry, because I think I would have ended up in trouble. It kept me out of most trouble. Any serious trouble it kept me out of. And they'd be sitting there or something. I'd 14 or 15 years old, I'd roll up to them and throw dirt on them, and get them all upset. So the Checkers Motorcycle Club nicknamed me the Squirrel, and it still kind of sticks here and there. One of my buddies actually has a squirrel on his uniform, on the leathers, and then EM and with the picture of a little squirrel.
Right
that was my nickname. Then my nickname after I become a professional racer become 12, which is the same number I run now.
So you kind of moved out of pro racing. You're doing the vintage thing, and you were also you were working as a stuntman. How did that start?
That started from Bud and a guy named Everett Creech. They were doing a movie Magnum Force with Clint Eastwood, and there was 2 aircraft carriers, and it was 125 feet from one to the other. And I guess I was about the same size as Clint in them days, nice and thin, and they wanted to know if I would like to look at this 125-foot jump from one aircraft carrier to the other, and I said yeah. So they had a driver send me down and pick me up and took me to Burbank Airport and put me on them days PSA Airlines and flew to the Bay Area and got some transportation and took us there, and we looked at it, and I thought, yeah, I could do it. So we did this and did that and set a ramp up on the top of the aircraft carrier and practiced jumping it, and we took the measurement from one aircraft carrier to the other, maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, because that's when the film crew figured we were going to do the jump. Well, film business is a day late and a dollar short. Usually a day late, no dollar short, but usually a day late. And we ended up shooting the thing about 4 o'clock. Well, the tide comes in, okay? Well, the boats come apart. And we were jumping, I was jumping like 127, 128 feet comfortably, and on top of the aircraft carrier with some wooden ramps made and stuff. So they hollered action, and I hit that baby, man, and was flying through the air, and the boats were actually like 134 feet, 133 feet apart, which brought me up about 4 feet short. And I'm flying that old Triumph through the air, man. I'm going, oh boy. And I took the motorcycle and actually tilted the motorcycle in the air, because I learned how to jump, doing TT races. Actually tilted the motorcycle in the air. Front wheel hit about 6 inches on the side of the aircraft carrier. Rear wheel bent the handlebars down, squared both wheels, and the stunt coordinator was a real good friend of me. Come over, Eddie, don't ever do that again. Scared the shit out of him, So we got back, and I doubled the other actor, David Small, and added, about 4 or 5 miles an hour, and we did a couple test jumps before we did the second thing. It landed really well, and then we shot it off the side, and then we started doing the stunt thing more and more and more, and it's like any other sport. I think I was in the mid-30s, and running down like a half-mile straightaway or something and run off in the corner and think you're all hot shit, and here comes guys like Jay Springsteen and stuff whistling right on by, and it kind of says, good morning, and it's time to put it on the shelf. So we put them on the shelf, about 73, I guess, and then kind of did the whole stunt thing, and then I had a business, I towed for the city and did this and did that, and then we kind of got involved with the vintage thing, came alive, and now I do a motorcycle dirt track series, Eddie Mulder's West Coast Vintage Dirt Track Series, which is the biggest thing in the West Coast, and have several good sponsorships, and actually have one guy puts $5,000 into every race.
So you started a business building custom Triumph motorcycles. Tell me about that.
We started building, I felt there was a need for motorcycles. I enjoy building motorcycles, Triumphs. I'm a Triumph guy inside out. And we got going and we started building C&J frames and Eddie Mulder gas tanks and A&A brakes and Brembo brakes and A&A crowns. And, they're just a complete, perfect vintage motorcycle. They weigh like 302 pounds. In the old days, they weighed 342. And Carl Chrome, my little motor guy, does the motors. And, at this point in time, we've been doing it for about maybe 10 years. And I have a whole kit, and I sell about 2 or 3 a year. We do motors constantly, and we kind of got it, it's like everything else. We got it the package pretty well figured out. We know what makes the motor happy. I've had a good career, and this is another branch that I can go off to and get satisfaction and keep the sport alive, and at the same time, make a little revenue.
Right. I heard you have a cargo container of new old stock. Is that true?
Yeah, we do a little hunting around. I got a 40-foot container packed, with Triumph motors, wheels, tanks, tires. A lot of the stuff people don't know where to get, and I can get it. So I keep the stuff in stock. Like a gentleman come here yesterday and was looking for a set of camshafts for one, and I got the Johnson cams, so I'm gonna, I'll get the cams, and I guess he's from Europe or somewhere. He'll call me and I'll get the cams to him, and the valve springs and the valve guides and the valves, all was made by a company called Kibble White. But it's like anything else, you can have all the components in a kitchen, and if you don't know how to cook it, you're shit out of luck.
So you're here at the Hill Climb this year. Last year you actually were first in your class, but you had a few problems with altitude, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We've been coming here for, God, I don't know, 8 or 10 years or whatever. I don't know the exact amount. And last year there was something going on with me, and ended up winning it and breaking my old record by 12 seconds, but kept feeling this pain in my chest and around the heart. Got halfway home and made a few calls and ended up going straight from Flagstaff to a specialist in Antelope Valley, and ended up with fluid around the heart, which is, I'm 60, I was 64, I'm still 63 at that time, and I'm going, hey man, is this part of my life is my life gonna end? It's a terrifying thing. And they went up through and put the camera in there and looked at the heart and did all this stuff, and it was just fluid around the heart that actually squeezes the heart, and it can't explode the heart, and it was all from the altitude. So we got it all cleared out and started playing racquetball, me and my buddy Bob Molesky, and kind of have worked through it. But this year, I don't know if it's really how to put it in order. I feel uncomfortable, and I don't know if it's being scared, because I've never really been scared my whole life, but I'm getting a little old, and a little smarter, hopefully, and I haven't practiced much. We went and got oxygen and stuff this year. I feel pretty good, but I don't know if I really want to take that chance, and deal the cards, and it's really not worth it to me to go win another one, because
you've got a long resume of wins.
I think I got 8 or something. I don't even know what it is, but we broke the record the last 3 times here, and that's all wonderful. We're going to go out and test today and see how I feel, and my friends are behind me 100%. My wife says, you don't need to do it. I don't need to do it, but yet there's still that little thing inside you that wants you to go out and whip everybody's ass, and we'll see. We'll go out and do a little testing today, and tomorrow, if I feel like it, we'll be part of it. And if not, then I'll just sit around and help anybody else that way I can. And we'll still do maybe some stuff down at sea level. And I don't really know the answer at this point in time, except maybe as age goes on, the bells and whistles say, hey man, you need to button it up a little bit. So that's where that's at.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much for talking to me, Eddie, about this, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
I think you'll make the best judgment about yourself and about that race.
We'll pull the trigger, and we're going to go up and do, like I said, do a little testing this morning, and if I feel good in the morning, I'll sit on the line and pull the trigger, and if I get going up there pretty well and and feel good, I'll go ahead. You know, if I don't, I'll just pull it over and party with the crowd and come back down with the rest of the boys. And you know, I mean, it's not, you know, I don't do it for a job anymore. I do it out of enjoyment, but I do like to go out and kick their ass, you know, and keep the respect and keep them honest. So, you know, once again, let the old heart tell your story. You know what I'm saying?
Right on.
And I want to thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.